and hopefully the Celtics fans will love one of their new guys, a guy by the name of Dennis Schröder, the
Hmm.
German Rondo, as I recall him being referenced to many
Okay,
years ago.
I could get
Uh,
behind
so,
that.
here's, I mean, I've got my own feelings about it, but I'm just curious, Alex. I mean, you've been around the league for a really long time. You've seen Dennis play plenty of times. You've talked to people who know him. What's Why should Celtics fans feel good about this?
I think for the Celtics, I mean, this is such a cheap deal, a bargain deal. If this deal had happened on the first day of free agency, if they had signed into a 1 year, $5.9 million deal, imagine the reaction that people would have had around the league. Fans have been freaking out, praising Brad Stevens, saying this is an insane deal. His stock has been hurt because people, teams passed on him in free agency, and we saw him have to wait longer than pretty much all the notable guys, to sign a deal. So that's kind of why his stock's been hit a little bit. Everyone's making fun of him on Twitter, talking about him passing up all that money, $84 million. But I mean, that kind of we're forgetting this is a guy that was offered $84 million several months ago. So to get him at $5.9 million, for 1 year is pretty remarkable. So I think, for Schroder, I get it. He gets to sign a prove-it deal above the minimum on a playoff team. That where he should get a lot of attention. There's significant playing time there, so he's going to be able to go in, kind of show what he can do, and then he can try to hit free agency again next offseason and sign a bigger deal. I think for the Celtics, it's really a low-risk, high-reward move. Even if he is horrible and this doesn't work out, at that contract and what he's shown over the last 2 years with the Lakers and Thunder, they could even just move him. So there's really no downside if you're the Celtics. I think if they had signed him to that second year with a player option, like had been rumored that he apparently wanted, you could start getting to, okay, well, they'd be hard capped. Now all of a sudden, he can come back for a second year and limit your flexibility a little bit. On a 1 year deal, I don't think there's really any downside for the Celtics. I think if he's able to contribute like he did in OKC as a sixth man and score a ton when he averaged 19 points, or if he starts and is more of a facilitator and like he did last year with the Lakers when he averaged 15, 6, and 3, I think that that's huge for this team that obviously was looking for some point guard help after moving on from Kemba Walker. So I think it makes a ton of sense for the Celtics. There's a ton of teams out there that would have loved to have him at this price. I think obviously he didn't get the big bucks that he wanted, but to get him on such a bargain deal, I think it's a huge win for Brad Stevens and the Celtics.
I mean, when rumors began to surface that this was something that the Celtics were interested in doing, my first thought was, come on, stop, people. There's no way that they can get this guy who clearly is in that high teens, low 20s, maybe even mid 20s as far as millions per year range. They don't have the money. It's like going to the dealership and saying, I want a Maybach, and you don't have enough money for a Mazda. It's not gonna get done. And yet, lo and behold, they put, to me, this was very Danny Ainge-like as far as holding out. Just the market is gonna just calibrate in such a way that I can get the guy that I want for the price that I want. Because the other thing too, Alex, and you know this, they could have given him a larger mid-level.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you the smaller one. And it makes me think about like when you go to the grocery store and you see that bag of Twizzlers and it's $1.59, but your shopping cart says you can get it for 99 cents. Are you really going to pay more when you don't have to? Of course not. This, to me,
Yeah.
I'm not sure which was the bigger bang for your buck deal. This one or Oladipo going back to Miami, because it's pretty close between the two.
I would say it's this one because Oladipo, there were concerns about, if he would even sign this offseason until he could prove that he was healthy. So with Schroder, there's none of those question marks surrounding him with the health and everything like that. And we've seen Schroder play at a higher level more recently. Yeah, Oladipo has had the higher, point in his career a few years ago with Indiana when he was all NBA, but he's really had a pretty big fall since then. So I think Schroder is the better deal and probably the safer deal, to be honest. Yeah, it's a minimum deal for Oladipo, but there's a possibility that we don't see Oladipo play very many games this year because of the injury stuff. He's going to miss a big chunk of the season with that, the injury. So yeah, I think this is a better deal. But yeah, I love it. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And I think, you're right. They really were there was no other teams that could offer what the Celtics could offer in terms of like the significant playing time on a playoff team. So there were teams out there that could have either given him more money, but maybe he wouldn't have been able to go, have a lot of exposure or go to the playoffs. Maybe, there were teams out there that maybe were better teams or were offering, the same amount of money, but they didn't have the same kind of playing time to offer. So I think the Celtics recognized, hey, we have the best situation for him. So we don't need to give him that second year and a player option. We don't need to give him the full mid-level and hard cap ourselves. We get to keep our cap flexibility. And I think that's a big thing we've seen. Brad Stevens in this front office, they really value that flexibility going forward. So we've seen a lot of shorter deals and things there. So I think it makes a ton of sense. And I think for Schroder too, this is a good opportunity for him because he will get that significant playing time. And we've seen he's a guy that is not a great shooter. He's a 33% three-point shooter throughout his career. So the fact that he's surrounded by so many good shooters, I think will really help him too. That's going to benefit him a lot. So I just get why he chose Boston and why Boston was happy to sign him at that price. It seems like it could be a win-win for both sides.